In the previous video, we looked at some rules and strategies when adding and subtracting positive and negative integers. In this video, we're going to focus on what rules need to be applied when multiplying and dividing positive and negative integers. So, let's begin. The upside of multiplying and dividing integers is that the process is much easier to learn as the rules for multiplying and dividing are the same as each other, given that multiplying and dividing are inverse operations. To explain this, let's consider the integer 6 and what occurs when we multiply it by 1. Now, at the moment, we have a positive integer and we're multiplying by a positive number. When we multiply by a positive integer, such as positive 1 like we've done here, it instructs us to stay on the same side as the number line as our first integer. In this problem, that positive 6, which can be located here. Now, we know the solution to this problem. We know that 6 times 1 will equal 6. But what happens if we change the first integer to a negative? We made it negative 6 times 1. Well, if we go by that first rule, if we're multiplying by a positive integer, it needs to stay on the same side as our first integer. So we locate that. Negative 6 can be found on the left of the 0, in the negative side of our number line. We need to multiply it by a positive 1, which means we have to stay on this side of the number line. And one lot of 6 is considered to be 6. That's all well and good, but what happens if we multiply by a negative integer? Say, multiply by negative 1. Well, the first thing that we can do is to locate 6 on our number line, which is located in the positive area here. When we multiply by a negative integer, such as negative 1, it instructs us that we actually need to switch to the other side of the number line. So our solution is actually going to be on the negative side. So we can put the symbol that we're expecting our solution to be. From here, we simply go, well, what is 6 times 1? We know that to be 6. So our final solution here is negative 6. But if we think about it, this statement is saying, what is 6 lots of negative 1? Now, if we had a collection of 6 negative 1 items, we would have negative 6 of those items. So to quickly summarize what we've found here, if we multiply by a negative integer, we have to look at our first integer, which in this problem was a positive, and we have to switch to the other side of the number line. Well, there's one other problem that you can get here. What if I had negative 6 and I multiply it by negative 1? Does the solution to this problem become even more negative? Well, the answer to that is no. Because we are multiplying by a negative number, that tells us that we need to swap sides of the number line that we started on. So, we consult our first integer, negative 6. That can be found in the negative column of the number line. When we're multiplying by a negative, that tells us that we need to swap to the positive side of the number line. So we're expecting a positive solution. Now, from here, we just simply go, what is 6 multiplied by 1? 6 lots of 1 is 6, so our solution is positive 6. Now this also holds true when we're dividing numbers. If we have, say, 6 divided by 3, shown here in fraction form, because we are dividing by a positive value, we need to stay on the same side as the number line as our first value here, 6. Now our first value is in the positive side of the number line, so our solution should be a positive number. Then we go 6 divided by 3, which is 2. So that's a simple problem. If we have negative 6 divided by 3, it tells us when we're dividing by a positive integer that we have to stay on the same side of the number line as our first value here. Negative 6 can be located the negative side of our number line. So our solution needs to be a negative value. From here, we just go, what is 6 divided by 3, which we all know to be 2. So our solution here will be negative 2. Now, let's think about this. If you had a $6 bill, okay, that negative $6 that you owe, and you were going to pay it between 3 people, you would pay, which is what the negative means, $2 each. Now, what if we were faced with 6 divided by negative 3? Well, the first thing that this tells us, we are dividing by a negative integer. So we need to change the side of the number line that our positive 6 is on. So we can find this in the positive section. So we need to switch over to the negative section so we know our solution will be a negative value. From here, we just go, what is 6 divided by 3, which we know to be 2. So our solution here is going to be negative 2. The final kind of problem we can get is having negative 6 divided by negative 3. Now, since we're dividing by a negative integer, it tells us that we need to switch the side of the number line that we're on. So let's locate negative 6. It can be found here in our number line on the negative side. Because we're dividing by a negative, we need to switch the side of the number line that we're on, so we're expecting to have a positive solution. Now we just look at what is 6 divided by 3. We know that to be 2, so our solution here will be positive 2. So let's revise. If we multiply or divide by a positive integer, the answer must remain on the same side as that first integer. However, if we multiply or divide by a negative integer, the answer must swap sides of the number line of the first integer in the problem. As always, it is best to learn through practice. So I've come up with some problems for you to try yourself.